We welcome David Jordan to our podcast today from Agape Memphis. We're really excited about you being here because what you are doing, I think, is so important to how the future church is going to exist and thrive in the North American culture. So just to help our folks get caught up with what you do and where you are, tell us about a few minutes about Agape Memphis.
So David Jordan, I'm the president and CEO at Agape in Memphis, called Agape Child and Family Services. This is my 31st year. God brought us there. Agape will be 56 years old here in just a few days. So it began in 1970, launched through churches, specifically Churches of Christ. The first one actually was here in Nashville. We have one in Memphis and Atlanta, a couple in Alabama, North Carolina. Agape began focusing on foster care and adoption. And so a lot of people would know the name and think, oh, y'all are the foster care people. And we did that for a lot of years. My background professionally has been in this field for 40 years and did a lot of that work. About almost 17, 18 years ago, we began asking the question, what does it look like to go deeper in neighborhoods? And so I know we'll talk more about that. But we began going in neighborhoods where the kids lived before they came into foster care. And we began asking the question, what would be most helpful to you before getting into a system? And so that changed our trajectory hugely 18 years ago. So we began asking families, what would be most helpful to you? Just those living in neighborhoods and communities, and most of them are impoverished, under-resourced neighborhoods. And families said, if you really want to help me, I don't feel safe in my neighborhood. So can you help me feel safer? If you really want to help me, can you help me with my kids in school so that they not only do well in school, but will they be in a school that it makes any difference, the piece of paper they might get when they graduate from high school? If you really want to help me, can you help me get a job or more of a job to really support financially my family? If you really want to help me, can you help my family within inside our home walls, relationships, what's going on between parent, child, or children, just all the dynamics in the household. And then in the center of that was, do we have any hope? Is there any hope that the generations that I came before, I'm kind of living out this same kind of pattern, the same trajectory? Will there be any hope for myself or my kids? And so as we sat with that and listened to it, we said, waiting for kids to come into foster care, and there's a time that there's a need for kids to come into foster care. And I have lots of stories around that. But waiting for kids to come into any system versus Jesus' model of going into the neighborhood, being where the people are at and walking with them where they're at, changed us hugely.
But they talk about going upstream.
Exactly.
And solve the problem before it becomes a problem.
That's right. And that's language that we use a lot of, going upstream. And so we said, okay, we'll begin walking with you just like that to try to prevent kids from coming into foster care, as well as lots of other life matters, and bring resources and services, because there's a lot of strength in those neighborhoods as well. And so we went deep in schools, and so had staff embedded in 17 schools, kindergarten to 12th grade, in the neighborhood where families lived. We partnered deeply with churches in those neighborhoods. And so having staff and other nonprofits embedded in those churches, in those neighborhoods. We went deep where people live, in apartments or kind of the surrounding area, their residents. And so my staff don't go to an office, like a central office. They go into the neighborhood. They go to the communities. And so we're in 4 large under-resourced neighborhoods in Memphis. For those who might know these neighborhoods, Frazier, Whitehaven, Hickory Hill, and Raleigh. And we've been asked to go into 3 additional neighborhoods, Orange Mound, South Memphis, North Memphis. Those neighborhoods together make up about 80%.
Who asked you to go into
so
the
these
other
are neighbors, community partners, churches, schools. So those that have seen the work and experienced that, and kind of grapevine, on the street, what's happening. And so as we discern through that, and as God provides resources, we've gone deep in those 4 neighborhoods and have these 3 other Those together make up about where 80% of those that live in poverty in Memphis reside. And so we're trying to go deep in those neighborhoods, really from a lens of kingdom come. What does it look like through the body of Christ in its fullness, not just the four walls of where a church building's at, but the fullness of the body of Christ in the kingdom in those neighborhoods. And so that's what we have done for now 17, 18 years.
How did you get connected to Agape?
So lived here in Nashville for my college years, came to Lipscomb, met my wife, went to a church here. Some folks would know that the name Dr. Rubel Shelley, who had huge impact on my life in terms of...
And mine.
And yours as well.
He is a great friend.
Yes,
friend.
Yes. And helped me come to know Jesus in a very personal way that I didn't know as a kid growing up. And then began coming to know Jesus from the vantage point of kingdom and what that means. And so as we were here in Nashville, and those are beautiful years, had two of our first of our three children, and received a calling to come to Memphis. And we were going through the Henry Blackaby work.
Right.
And Rubel was preaching from it, and we were in a small group experiencing God. And I think if it had not been for that tool, Blackaby's tool, in that small group, I would not have been necessarily faithful to God's calling to go to Memphis. And because we came to Nashville was just a breath of fresh air for us spiritually. But clearly God is calling us to go to Memphis. So in 95, went to Memphis, and it's been beautiful. It's been a beautiful place to raise our children, now 5 grandchildren, and going deep in the ministry God's given us.
Okay. Folks like you always have a story. I was going through my life, and then boom, this hit, changed everything about what I thought was important. What's your story?
My dear friend Terry Smith would tell you to tell your story. So I grew up in a good home, good family, in the church. I was born with a cleft lip, and it was, I think, God's way of marking me. Early, people would say things like, "Man, you look like Monster Man," or "You look," and so early in life, a question deep in my spirit was, do I have value? Am I loved? Am I lovable? And God began answering that for me and to me. And there's a whole storyline with that. And as I got older as an adult and became to know God's love and Jesus' love for me, the question began turning for me of, David, I've showed you my love, and I'll keep doing that. Now I want you to go be that for others who have the same kind of question in their heart. And so that has fueled me for all of my life, answering one of those life questions that then become the question God uses for me to try to be to others.
How did you end up in social work?
I went to Lipscomb. I got my major in Bible. Never since being called to preach or pastor. But as immature as it was, knew I was called to help people. And so graduated, and then was a lost puppy. Didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I was just started driving a truck, just trying to figure it out. Dating my now wife, and then the pathway to social work kind of illuminated for me. And so I went to University of Tennessee here in Nashville and got my master's in social work. And so God began blending that Bible major and that social work master's together. And so I began working in the field as I had my master's. I worked with the state of Tennessee, did child protective services work. So going in homes where there's alleged abuse and neglect. And I mean, I was green as green could be. And had 2 cases, very, very unfortunately, where young children, a baby, died by virtue of abuse. One that marked another marking in my life in 1987, a little fellow named Corey Orr, 4 years of age. And had just been literally beaten to death. And I was young as young could be. Back when there were beepers, I was on call and got the call to go to Vanderbilt Hospital. And I saw this little 4-year-old boy in the hospital, unconscious, just literally beaten to death. And probably fortunate for Corey, he died the next day. And it turned me upside down. I wrecked my car. I couldn't even focus, and almost left the field. And I had a good mentor that said, David, God has called you to be here. He will not leave you. He is with you. And he will use this tragedy in a way that will be good for others. And so I call little Corey's name occasionally out because God has used the tragedy, just terrible tragedy of his life, to bring good to others. And so that was part of my story to kind of move through where I'm at now.
Okay. Now, listening to you, reading your background stuff, you're not a pastor of a church.
Right.
But David, you sound like a pastor.
Occasionally people call me pastor.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of important for us to talk about in this transition that the church in North America is in. You've talked about going to the neighborhoods. You're talking about embedding in the neighborhoods, going deep in the neighborhoods.
That's right.
Partnering with churches, but not staying within the church. Okay, we live in a time now when the ministry comes before the message. Okay, I grew up probably like you did with the Billy Graham School of Evangelism, and we were told, just to cold call and share the gospel and expect a decision. Yeah. Now, for a lot of reasons that we don't have time to talk about today, people are very jaded about the gospel. And they're wondering if the church can make any real difference. So when they see a ministry like Agape making a difference not only in the child's life, but in the whole system of that is engaged with that child, then they become more open to the gospel. So what we're talking to churches about now is find a problem in the community and solve it. Yeah. Okay? We call it the Mother Teresa rule. Go where nobody wants to go and do what nobody wants to do.
Amen.
And if you do that, then the other doors will open for you. Now, poverty for most churches is a special offering at Christmas. You and I know it is more than that.
That's right. That's right.
So explain to me what you found out in this generational web of poverty.
Yeah. So maybe a story that would connect with that. As we've gone deep in neighborhoods, poverty and all that it means, and a lot of times when we hear poverty, we think economic, and that's part of it. But that is only a part of it, and it is a web. That's a good way of saying it. It's very complex. There's so many dynamics that go with poverty, because a lot of folks would say, man, don't you just, are you lazy, just up and out? And it's deep for most families. So we're in a neighborhood called Frazier, which in the 70s was a middle-class community doing well. Economic engines, businesses left that community. The population began shifting and changing, and now it is.
Was there anything that prompted that?
It was the closing. You had a tire factory. So you just had some economic changes going on in the neighborhood and the community.
And in Nashville, it is the construction of I-40.
Yeah.
That split neighborhoods open,
and you can just drive right by them. You don't see them.
That's
right. Them up. And so you don't get seen, and you don't, and so your voice is not heard.
Right.
And so Frazier is now has a lot of beauty in it, and it's where more kids go into foster care than almost any other neighborhood. And you could just add on to the list of all the kind of matters going on. So we're deep in a church. It's called Pursuit of God Church, who, with a partner with Pastor Ambassador Ricky Floyd, who actually passed a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. I said we were covenant partners. He and I, a deep partnership and relationship. So he's at his church, and we're embedded in his church, and we're in a school that's across the way from his church, elementary school, and we're embedded, got staff embedded there. And the principal, and he tells me this story. I wasn't even present for this, even though my staff are all involved. The principal picks up the phone and calls Pastor Floyd and says, Pastor, you've got to get over here. I got a mama. She is just going crazy. She got 2 boys who are students here in our school, our elementary school, and she's just mad as a wet hen. Can you do something about it? So Pastor said, why don't you just send her over to me? Just cross over the street and come over to see me. And so the mama does. She gets over there, and I mean, as Pastor Floyd would tell the story, just said she really was mad and just looked at him just up and down like, what do you want? And he, hi, I'm Pastor Floyd, anything I can do? And she said, no, there's probably nothing you can do for me. Well, understand you're having some difficulty at school. Yeah, I'm having some hard time with that school, and that school needs to change. They need to fire that principal. Well, would you like me to pray for you? Yeah, Pastor, if you won't pray, go ahead. You go ahead and just pray. So he prays with her. Comes out of prayer and said, is there anything else I can do for you? Well, I'm hungry. You want to do something about that? Well, actually, we've got this partnership with Agape and lots of other nonprofits. And so right down my hall in our church building here, we have food through another nonprofit. Would you like some food? So I can have some food today. You're welcome to go down there and get, what does it cost me? Not a thing, ma'am. Would you like to go down? Well, yeah, I'll do that. And so she goes down, she gets food, and they box it up. And so he said, ma'am, is there anything else I can do for you? And she said, well, you've been kind. We got carjacked. Anything you can do about that? He said, well, I don't know. Tell me what. Well, my boys, they're upset. They're acting out at school. I'm mad. I'm hurt. I mean, right. He said, well, we have upstairs. He called it his upper room. Upstairs, Agape's got counselors and folks that do mental health kind of work. And we're not crazy. Now, I didn't say you're crazy, but you gone through some stuff. You got carjacked. They pulled a gun on you. Yeah, they did. Would you like? I can set them up to see them today after they get out of school. Well, okay, all right. Anything else I can do for you, ma'am? Well, since I got carjacked, I can't get to my job, and so I've been fired. I can't get there. Can you do anything about jobs? Well, Agape with lots of other partners have a work fair here, and so they'll have employers here tomorrow if you come back, and some of them hire on the spot. Would you like to come to that? Well, okay, I'll come to that. She comes to that and gets hired on the spot, making $18 an hour, and so her life starts. Well, a couple of weeks later, the school calls Pastor and said, Pastor, this mom's back over here. You got to get over here. He said, oh, my goodness, what's going wrong now? No. This is good. You need to get over here. So he goes over to the school across the street, and they're high-fiving, and she's hugging, and she sees him. And again, he's telling me the story and said, she gives him a big hug and says, Pastor, I came back here just to apologize. Apologize to the school. Apologize for how I was acting out a couple weeks ago. I want to apologize to you, and thank you for how you've really helped me. And I didn't know that a church cared that much. I just thought I come, you just want my money, and do you really care? And he said, ma'am, we do care. And she said, you know what? I used to go to church. And he said, well, you'd be welcome to come to our church. Well, she started coming to their church, began being a part of their church body, still struggling in life, but being together, walking it out. And I think that epitomizes, not every story is that way, but it epitomizes kind of who we are and trying to be, kind of to your earlier point. Can you see me in my pain and my hurt? I don't trust the church. I had a bad experience, or I've moved away from it, or whatever my life experience was, but you met me where I was at. And so that's who we are trying to be, what I would call the fullness of the gospel, and meeting people exactly where they're at in the very moment when you meet them.
Okay. All right, so I'm a average church member. I get fired up about poverty, or worse, I did something a couple of years ago and got burned out. Because it is so overwhelming. Okay, so how does Agape form a system that can then address the complexities of poverty?
It's a great question because there are a lot of people good-hearted people
Yeah.
who've tried, and
It's overwhelming.
and it will be overwhelming almost every time. Or I tried and I got burnt, and that's not uncommon. I've been overwhelmed. I've gotten burnt, and so I get it. I get it. Because as we fight poverty, I say we fight it spiritually, economically, educationally, relationally, systemically. There's so many factors going on. And so what we're trying to do and what we're doing is walking alongside churches, walking inside the school sector, being in the neighborhoods, and saying, as we holistically wrap around a family, how can the body of Christ come along with their giftedness? Man, I'm a CEO of a company, and I could create a pathway to jobs. Well, if you do it by yourself, and you can, then what about when transportation comes up? What about child care issues? What about when they come in, they cuss out their boss? What, all the things that can happen. So we are walking alongside, and we're saying, okay, here are the kind of things you got to do. Here's the pathway to get to a job like that. And here are the life matters. And how do we help you support? And then when things happen, and almost every time, something's going to happen.
Right.
How do we keep walking with you? And how do we have the body of Christ be a part of that? CEO says, I can get them a job, but I can't be a social worker.
That's right.
And so
I don't have time to raise them. That's what they take.
And that's just not trying to be a good person, good-hearted. I feel convicted around this. But we say, great. Help us be part of the kind of the village, if you will,
right,
with many other nonprofits, other groups, and you be a piece of that to walk alongside this family.
One part of this.
That's right.
Everybody has a slice of the pie.
That's right.
But nobody has the whole pie.
That's right. Which is, I think, the beauty and the imagery of the body of Christ.
Right.
Somebody's the arm, somebody's the leg, somebody's the eye, but it takes all of us to be one body.
To be functioning.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So that's who we really tried. And so we come along. We have what we call hub churches. And so those churches in the neighborhoods that know the people, have the heartbeat of the people, often pastors that are kind of gatekeepers. I mean, they're viewed as leaders. And so we embed in those churches. We bring other nonprofits. Agape can't do it all. And so we bring other nonprofits and groups there. And then we invite what we call resource churches. And so those that have more resources, whatever those might be, and to partner with a hub church to say, what does it look like together? I mean, an example of this is Pastor Steve Gaines, I don't want to call his name out, who just passed away.
Just passed away. Steve's a good friend.
Good, yes. And Steve and his wife Donna, good friends. Pastor of Bellevue Baptist, the largest Southern Baptist church, I guess, in the world, maybe. Steve wanted to come see the work, and this was 5-6 years ago, and he admittedly said, "Man, David, what y'all are talking about sounds good, but I got to come see it."
Right.
Well, they had
pastors have been burned too.
Yes. We might flip this and ask you, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, so Steve, and I loved his heart. He said, "I want to come see this. I'm hearing about it. I'm hearing good stories." And we in Bellevue have bought a building in the Fraser neighborhood, a church building, and they've been through multiple pastors. It wasn't working.
Right.
But I'm hearing these goods. How do these two things go together? And so he came and they started asking questions and looking at it, and then became convicted and said, "Man, David, my wife and I, Donna, are walking alongside a single mom, and man, this is complex. This is hard work." I said, "Pastor, you're exactly right." And I said, "And rarely can one person by themselves do it. It really takes a village. It takes a body to do it." Well, coming out of that, he and Pastor Floyd then began working with each other, getting to know each other. And what Bellevue did through Pastor Steve Gaines, they said, "You know what? We probably can't do Fraser work in the Bellevue way, but we could gift this church to someone like a Pastor Floyd who knows the church and the community, and we could be in relationship with each other." And so they donated a $3 million facility with 3 years of operating capital to help expand that ministry. And so that was one way from church to church. And so it wasn't Agape receiving any money. It was like, this is helping enhance this ministry. And now thousands of people in that neighborhood have been served by virtue of that relationship and because of a pastor saying, "I see something. I see where God's working."
Right. Who is it that wrote When Helping Hurts?
Yes. Ficker.
Brian
Brian Ficker.
Yeah, Brian. Uh, his conclusion is poverty is the lack of access, and that what you're talking about here is Steve and Bellevue didn't have access to the people that they wanted to help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pastor Floyd didn't have access to the resources he needed.
That's right.
But with the help of Agape, then those connections were made, and access was open both ways.
That's right. And so access for the people themselves, access to two pastors that had not been together, and so they're learning from each other. It's not just a one-way street. And then access for families and all the stories that have come out of what's happened in there, and then access for other nonprofits to be able to partner to now be in a larger building to be able to do their work.
Yeah, to be on the ground.
Because the nonprofit world also can be extraordinarily siloed, and organizations doing their own thing, and so bringing that together, and then people in the community saying, okay, because my goal is, man, if you're looking for life, that's where you go for life. If you want the real stuff, that's where you go. And so creating those kind of oases in the desert to bring able to bring living water to families.
So tell me, I am a pastor, want to do good stuff, don't know how to even begin. Maybe I've done some reading, maybe I've been to a conference or two and walked back and said, sheesh, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. When you and I were talking earlier, I believe it to be true. What is it that God has put deep on your heart as your passion in your ministry? What is that passion? You asked me, what drives me? What is it that drives you? That there's a church in another neighborhood we serve, and they have a food ministry, and so it's like they're in just a food desert, and so how do we feed the people? But they're also very aware the same people are coming every week for food. I mean, we have to keep eating. We eat every day, right? And he said, man, how could we expand this food ministry in a way to go deeper in feeding the soul, the being, all of the personhood, the family, and so that's where we began with them. We work with churches that say, man, I have a passion around fathers and fatherhood, and we said, let's begin right there, and so we do what we call a no wrong door. So whatever door folks come to you at with, man, I'm a single father and I'm struggling. I just came out of prison and I've just come back in. Man, my kids are about to go into foster care, or they're coming back from foster care, or I can't get a job, or whatever life matter might be. We say begin there. So what's the door the church has?
No wrong door philosophy is big with Agape.
Yes.
Okay. Explain that to us.
Yes. And so most often in the human services, social services world, folks think about programs, and I get funding for programs. And so we do food, we do foster care, we do workforce, we do child care, we do mentoring, whatever it might be. And I've been doing this long enough, and I said, why do we make people, individuals, families have to figure out where the programs are at, what door to go through, and do I qualify? Why don't we make that our job? And so it's our job to integrate all those different fundings with different partners, so that when a family comes and says, here's what I need, I trust that you know best what you need first. And if you say that, then it's my job to just open the door and say, walk in. Now, you've got to do the work, but can I open that door? So a no wrong door is when you come to me and you say, here's what my need is. Food, mentoring, help with school, help with the job, help whatever that might. Would you pray for me?
The basic gospel principle of starting right where you are.
Right where you're at. Jesus went in the neighborhood and he just began walking with the people. And so in my opinion, how do we create that? And we do that in the church. We also do it in the public sector within the schools. And so those being community resource hubs as well, so that wherever you might go, we're being the body of Christ in that place. And whatever door you want to walk through, that's the door we begin with. And then we start walking it out, because then typically through relationship, because relationship is paramount, through the relationship, well, can you help me with this? Or what about that? Can we have this kind of conversation? And just begin trying to opening other doors as you walk out, which I view being the fullness of the gospel.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're moving into some new areas,
Yeah.
some new communities you've been invited in.
Yeah.
What's the process for establishing Agape Memphis in a new neighborhood?
So first have to be invited basically in. Are there people saying we really want you to be here? Are we getting families who are calling us saying, hey, can you serve me in our neighborhood? Do we have partners? Do we have churches that were saying we could use this? And here's what so we have these conversations. We go in, we begin talking to the neighbors themselves and having those conversations.
I want to stop you right here because
yeah.
I think you're going through a key, and I don't want us to rush through
All right.
A key point, and that the reputation of Agape, the stories from the other neighborhoods, cause the invitation in these new neighborhoods, right? Okay, again, back to the ministries before the message.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and whatever door is open,
Yeah.
I'm going to serve as best we can with the resources that we can connect with.
Right.
And then as these people get help, who is it? Newbegin said the evangelism was one beggar telling another beggar where he found bread. So that began to spread. But this quality of consistent ministry of showing up, being there when people needed you, and then allowing that to open the other doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wait till you're invited. You wait till the doors open.
Yeah.
Then as you go through that open door, that opens the other doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm from a evangelical tradition that says you knock the door down. You know,
I get it.
So that's it. But for a lot of reasons now, that is the worst thing you can do. Because well, you know, we talk about how churches have been burned and all that. Neighborhoods have been burned.
Very much so. Very much so.
By government who's shown up, hey, we're here to help. Well-meaning nonprofits that didn't understand the complexity of what was going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And showed up, made a bunch of promises, and nothing happened.
That's right. That's right. Well, and I'm glad you slowed it up because that really is critical. The very neighbors that we come alongside most often have been burnt and used. In the nonprofit world, it may be I'm trying to get a 3-year grant and funding, and
so I need your picture on my brochure.
Yes, and so there are communities that will kick in Memphis. They will kick you out of the neighborhood if you come in wanting to treat the neighborhood like a client and really use us. And then when your 3-year funding is gone, then you up and out. And you're gone. And that has happened way too much.
Right.
Good meaning churches. You mentioned, doing turkeys and all, and those things can have their place, but when done in isolation, and that's kind of the only time you show up.
Yeah, it's cynical.
Yeah,
then it's
cynical. The old story of being, here come the turkey people.
Yeah.
And so I think that is really paramount in terms of your relationship, your intention, your commitment. One of the things for my board back in 2005 said if we're really seeking generational change and transformation in neighborhoods, then I believe we as an agency need to make a generational commitment. And so my board made an 18-year commitment back in 2005 saying, okay, if we're walking into a neighborhood and a community, we're going to be there. And we're not backing down. Right. And so no matter what the funding does, and it goes up and down, we're going to be present and have presence. Because word on the street is what makes you or breaks you. And so you make a very good point.
Yeah.
And that is paramount in having a long-term vision. If God has given this to you, then God will be faithful. And so remaining obedient through the hard times.
I remind people that there's a reason Jesus talked a lot about agriculture. You work the dirt and you wait.
That's right. That's right.
You plant the seed.
That's right.
And you wait.
That's exactly right.
you hear the story of Agape and say, hey, they go in and, the 1st of April, and by the end of April, they've got it figured out. But you're talking about an 18-year commitment.
Yes. If we're looking for generational change, am I willing to commit to you, family, and neighborhood as an organization if I'm asking you to make commitments on your end? Is there a mutuality here? And so God really compelled that upon my heart. And I'm thankful for a board that would say, we make that commitment. It's if you're going to do this work, and it is of God, then treat it as it is of God. And this is kingdom work. It is messy. It is hard. You'll want to quit. You'll be burnt. You'll have, not every story turns out all the things we know, and yet it's exactly where Jesus went.
David, you talked about the science of hope. Break that down for me.
Yeah. So we have, when we went to neighborhoods, when we asked families, what do you need? What would be most helpful? Mentioned a number of those things. And the center of it was this sense of lack of hope, hopelessness. And that has stayed with us. How do you embody, what does hope look like? And from a biblical standpoint, we'd say, hope is critical. Hope is essential to who we are. Agape became aware of something called the science of hope, which sounds kind of odd language together. But folks want to Google it, the science of hope. There's a Dr. Chan Hellman with the University of Oklahoma who's been leading this work for over 20 years. He's a believer, and it really is operationalizing hope. Hope having an expectation of a future that tomorrow can be better than today and that I have something to do about it.
Wow.
And so do you have a goal? If you have a goal, it's really clear. Do you have pathways, multiple pathways to get to that goal? Because one may not work. So do you have more? And then do you have the agency, the willpower to stay at it, to make that goal? Relatively simple. Goal, pathways to get to that goal, addressing barriers as they might come up, a plan for that, and then the motivation, the willpower to finish it out. And as you do that, rinse and repeat over and over. 2,500 bodies of research that would say if you do that, the likelihood of your hope in leading you to well-being and flourishing is very high. Most research would say hope is one of, if not the most critical factor toward someone having well-being and flourishing.
Okay, go back again. Goal?
If you got a goal that's very clear, and I want to get a job. I want to get a job making $20 an hour, working in IT, and so that's what I want for my next big thing. Okay, what's your pathways to get there?
I have to do this.
What is the plan to get there? What are the pathways? Well, I've got to have a certain amount of education. I have to have certificates. I've got to have childcare while I'm doing that. Is there transportation to get to the place I'm going to go to have the training? Do I have some of the financial resources to be able to do that? A range of all the life matters to be able to make sure I can get that certificate so that I can be, available to that job. And then do I have the motivation, the agency? Okay, when things hit and they don't go well, childcare just falls apart. Whatever the life matters are, do you have somebody around you? Do you have a community around you? What's going to help keep your motivation? Man, Mike, stay at it. You can do this. You can make it through. You've hit a tough time. You got another pathway to it. Okay, your childcare went down. Do you have somebody else that can help with childcare? All the different, stay with it. Stay at it. You're going to do it. You can do it. Man, remember your goal. Don't forget. Keep motivating yourself. And so being able to do that over and over and over again, research shows, in Agape's experience, because we've been using this model now for several years, is 50% of the families we work with, the parents have higher level of hope, and they have better outcomes than the other families. 65% of the youth that we work with have higher hope, kind of expectation of hope, and they have better outcomes. And so I went to our mayor here in Memphis, Mayor Paul Young, and I said, Mayor, there's this whole movement of hope, and I know we talk about Memphis often being called the city of crime and lots of other things, and we're not wanting to be known for that. What if hope became kind of what we're known for, that we're a city of hope. And what we're embodying is something called collective hope, not just at individual or family level, but collective across the city of Memphis. And using this kind of framework of goals, pathways, and agency to be able to get to that, and that being a city movement. Mayor, what do you think about that? David, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a man of hope.
Right.
I mean, what would I not like? What do you need? He said, you just kind of say, yep, that's good. I bless it. I said, Mayor, would you lead this? He said, oh, you're asking me a different question. I said, I am. And Agape will be glad to be your right arm, be your quarterback for execution of this. And he said, I'm in. And I met with our other mayor. We have Shelby County Mayor.
Right.
And Mayor Harris said, I'm in. And so we launched back in November what was called the Memphis Hope Summit. And we had nearly 500 people register to attend.
Wow.
And it was made up of political, nonprofit, for-profit companies, churches, governmental, all different kinds of people coming together. And we launched this event, Dr. Chan Hellman giving leadership with many others speaking. And that led to, okay, we need folks now, organizations, churches, nonprofits, companies that would say, we're going to take this hope model, goals, pathway, agency, and we're going to begin using it in some kind of way. We have 34 entities, churches, companies, nonprofits, who are using it right now. We have consultants coming in, meeting with them, saying, how's that going? What's that looking like within your organization? For Agape, we're becoming a hope-centered organization. So that my staff, what's your level of hope as staff? Because if the higher level of hope you have, the better our clients and families are going to do because of your hope level. And so there are lots of ways of doing this. We have our next Memphis Hope Summit this coming November, and we're going to highlight what has happened. And so we believe this will begin changing the culture, the language, how we view ourselves, how we talk about ourselves in the name of Jesus. And whether you're a person of faith or not, saying, hope, we are a city of hope. And so we have gone deep in what does it look like for hope? Because the end of hope really is leading to well-being and flourishing. And so we've embraced that deeply in Memphis.
Thank you. All right, let me ask you a Bible question.
Uh-oh.
The famous question of the lawyer who's talking to Jesus and says, who is my neighbor? Okay. You've used the term neighborhood a lot. David, where is my neighborhood?
My neighbor and my neighborhood is the one I can see and feel and love and know. You mentioned I-40. There's so many ways that we have allowed ourselves not to see our neighbor, not to walk by our neighbor, maybe walk on the other side.
Right.
So my neighbor is, can I see your face? Can I hear your heart? Can I look into your eyes? Can I see if a staff member says, can I see the whites of your eyes? Can I intently look at you so that you now are a person? You are made in God's image. And I have love for you. I don't have sympathy for you. And I know that you and I are made just by the very same God, made the very same kind of way, and we have the very same kind of desires and needs and wants. Can I feel and know you in that kind of level? So then we begin walking together. It's not me over you, but it's hand in hand as we walk out life together. Can I be that kind of? So ultimately, am I a neighbor?
Yeah,
to be a
I
neighbor.
figured to say you sound like, Jesus flipped the question.
Every time. Yeah,
So it's not so much who is my neighbor, but I think one of when I was growing up, the church was to reach the world, the whole world, and that became, you're going everywhere, so you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to reach Edge Hill or the communities in Memphis that you have named? It's not you're not even reaching all of Memphis. Okay, because again, if you're going everywhere, you're going nowhere. We're going to this community. We've been invited to this community, and this community, Fairfax, was it, is so big by so big. You know, and if we're going to leave Fairfax, we'll have to be invited to the next neighborhood over.
That's right. That's right. And you know, and I think Jesus gives us paradoxes all the time. He took the 12, as we all know, and he touched the world. We live in a time that we're probably 2 and 3 degrees away from touching every person in the world.
Yeah.
And so can I be very singular and walk with the very person in front of me? And will God use that to touch the whole world? I believe both will be true.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, gosh, I have I pastored for 45 years or so. I think most church members are bored out of their minds. In that, we don't ask anything of them. Okay, a good church member attends, and a good church member gives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all we want out of them. Now, what happens with that is they don't have a reason to show up. So worship becomes something I go to that somebody brings to me. I'm not bringing my own worship in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine, David, there are times when you go to worship when you are there to celebrate something you saw happen that previous week. I'm here to praise God for what I saw Thursday.
You bet.
Okay, most of our folks don't have that story. Most of our folks don't have a reason to be. Now, discipleship for most of us is attending a class. It's not preparing for ministry. But if I have dealt with a father who hasn't been a good father, maybe been in prison, coming out, whatever, he's trying to reconnect with his family, then that's going to drive me to study what the Word says about fatherhood and what God shows us as being a father.
Yeah, that's
okay,
right.
so that drives the discipleship, which drives the worship. And anytime you hang around the Father, you hear about his heartbreak for the world.
That's right. That's right.
And then that drives the work. And it's not, I'm not here. I'm going to be clumsy in how I say this, I know. I'm not here because I want to do something. I'm here because I've been compelled by Christ to come. You know, and I don't want to go back to him empty-handed in that worship experience. And now we're in a place now where we've had the war on poverty, we've had the Great Society, we've had untold billions spent, and made no real difference in poverty. Except some statistics say that there's even more people in poverty now, and that kind of stuff. So everything from single parents. Dropping out of high school, all the things that happen with that. My story was I'm sitting watching the news, and the story broke about all the children sleeping on the floor of DSS. The Department of Children's Services.
DCS.
Yeah, yes. They were sleeping on the floor of the offices.
Yep.
So I called the governor's chief of staff, who happened to know, and I said, "Listen, I'm watching this. Yeah. This is not going to stand, Jack. We've got to do something about this." Now, how do you want me to help the governor? I can call a couple of pastors. We'll meet with him. We'll get something going. Or I can have 12,000 Baptists call him in the morning.
That's right.
However I need to help him.
That's right.
I'll do that.
That's
so
right.
We got the meeting with the governor. Margie Quinn was in there from
Commissioner of DCS. That's right.
Who's doing a really good job.
Yes.
And that was when it was laid out to us how difficult and messy this process is. You know, we always have this Norman Rockwell view of adoption, little blonde-headed, blue-eyed girl, and you know, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But she started telling us about different levels of children. Some of these kids you cannot take home.
That's right. Yeah.
It's dangerous to you and your family.
Yeah.
And there has to be a whole nother facility for these folks. And then you start thinking, oh, I have no idea. What to do here, what to do next. Okay.
Yeah.
So what would be an easy next step for somebody who's who's too scared to even call Agape and say, hey, I'm interested in volunteering,
Yeah.
or I want to know more about your ministry.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I do think the easy next step, which can be the hardest step, is to I need to talk to somebody. I just need to have kind of like what you did. You know, I need to have a conversation. I need to learn more. I need to hear more. My heart's being pricked.
Same thing Steve Gaines did.
Exactly. Yeah. And it may or may not come from the most purest of motivation or whatever leads you to that place. It may come out of guilt. It may come out of lots of places.
Again, any door that opens.
And so can I find somebody to have a serious conversation with who can help me further? Because it's, as you said, typically there's going to be misinformation or lack of information.
Or too much information.
Yes,
It's almost you want to throw your hands up and say, I can't do anything.
Be overwhelmed.
So you don't do anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the foster care system. What do you want me to do? And most people could quickly, well, I can't foster, I can't adopt, you know. And there are very few people that, in my opinion, need to do that. There are a lot of people who could step in and have impact, but you need to understand what all that means. And so, I mean, there's a church here, the Church of the City, that is one of the three strategic partners that are Agape's one of them. There's a ministry in Knoxville. The governor and the state have said, we want to work with you to go deeper as backbone organizations, to holistically wrap around, so go deep in relationship. So have those conversations. That person who says, man, I'm pricked. What can I do? Is there anything I can really do? Well, the answer almost always is there's something you can do. So what does that look like? And then this system of care that organizations like Agape or the Church of the City here, there's a group in Knoxville Leadership Foundation, that we are working with many, like 200, 300, 400 nonprofits and others that are doing good. So when you have the family in the center, you have the resources, and kind of early moment you talked about the pathway having access, and then you have people of God who want to do good and well. But what's my role? And then being able to be within
who are
that.
gifted.
Yes.
And it's everything from, I'm a financial planner. Well, you can sit down with a family and help them get a fund. You can do their taxes.
Yeah, that's right.
And one of the things that our church did in the local community was do taxes for folks.
That's right.
And you know, these kind of basic skills, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Why are you so involved in the school? One of the things that I told our churches is you have to adopt a local school.
Agree.
You have to go into the principal and say, we have no agenda. We're here to help. Tell us what you need.
Yeah. We're in schools because that's where the vast majority of the kids are going to be at. Not everybody's going to come to a church from the community because of past experiences. And so I believe the kingdom is in the sacred sector, clearly, and it's in the secular sector. And so we go in schools, we partner alongside, we're clear, we're Christian-based. We also are clear of things we can and cannot do, and we say, we come in the name of Jesus, whether we say that out loud or not, and we bring holistic resources in those schools as a good partner. So for me, I believe the kingdom is over all life matters. And so go to where the people are at. That's where a significant number of the people are at. And then the pragmatics of if you don't do well in school, the likelihood of a job, all the kind of things, you know, just being able to have pathways while on this earth toward job and functioning and all the matters. That begins at early childhood, that's K-12, and then that then moves into, are you doing 2-year, 4-year, or are you doing certificates toward a job, whatever those kind of, and so being in those places to give pathway in that kind of way.
Yeah. We were stunned to find out that the average teacher in Tennessee spends $5,000 a year
out of their own pocket.
Of their own money to supply their children.
Yep. And especially if you're in a public school system.
Yes.
Not saying private teacher.
Yeah.
And so my wife's been on both sides in her past. That is true. That is true. And so first of all, God bless teachers in the classroom who stay at
Amen.
it and are doing it and are being asked to do more than really what they should be doing.
Right.
You know, and can you be the social worker? Can you be all the kind of things? And so bless them. And then for churches and others who would hear that, man, how do we support a teacher? And so money coming out of their pocket, and what does it mean for their classroom, and all the dynamics going on in a classroom. So yes, I mean, and that's another great example of another way of how can we help.
Okay. All right. I'm all fired up. What do I do next?
Well, you call Pastor Mike Glenn, or you can call David Jordan. You need to talk to somebody that, can get me to somewhere to have a conversation. To how do I move this passion forward? Because it will fizzle out if it's left just a passion. Satan will want to stomp that out. So make a call, reach out, have a next conversation with someone as a trusted advisor, an elder, a shepherd, a good friend.
Agape's website is Agape.
So we're agapemeanslove.org.
Okay, agapemeanslove.org.
Yeah, in Memphis. And so if you're in the Memphis area, or there are ways that we can help, help in terms of your direction, let me know. There are lots of great nonprofits and churches and others here in the greater Nashville area, this metro area. Find somebody who could help you further that conversation, and know Satan will try to stamp it out. He will work to stop that conversation. So persevere through that to continue in the passion God's given you.
It's worse, because if you get emotional about something but don't take action, then it becomes like a callus. You keep rubbing that spot over and over again, and it becomes calloused.
Yes.
And pretty soon you don't respond at all.
That's right.
With that. But there are enough areas and enough opportunities for all kinds of gifts.
Yes.
For people to make a difference.
Yes.
And this was one of, as I tell people, Jesus told us what was on the final, and he gave us the questions in Matthew 25. I was hungry, I was in prison, I was naked, and you came and saw about me.
And I think it's important within that, something you said a moment ago, if you've had a bad experience, or there's something that you would point to say, it doesn't work, it didn't work, I got burnt, I got hurt. Don't allow that experience was real, I'm sure, but don't allow that to be globalized as your overall next step.
Right.
Don't let that determine what you do next.
Good word.
Otherwise, Satan, he has done exactly what he's trying to do.
Well, David, thank you for your time. It has been a real honor to have you and
thank you so much.
Hear about your work and about the work of Agape Memphis.
Thank you, sir.